Look who we have here, the winningest coach in Atlanta Falcons history, 2008 NFL Coach of the Year. It's like a good old days reunion here.
It is.
Too.
Yeah, no question.
Absolutely.
How does that feel? I mean, we're sitting around here doing this. It seems like sometimes it brings us back to the day. Winningest coach in the history of the Atlanta Falcons. We did great things. You were unbelievable. You watch the evolution of the league right now. Big picture, are you impressed? Do you like where they're going? You've always been on the front end of the curve. You've had business ideas in the middle of us talking football. Like you've got such a great mind that way. Tell us about your thoughts about where the NFL is going right now.
Gosh, that's an open-ended question. We could go for a long time, Thomas. Like all those discussions we used to have in your in your office.
That's exactly right.
About who we're going to draft, why we're going to draft them. Yeah. But I think it gets a little easier now to have more data about the players. I'd say that's probably the thing that stands out to me right now. If we were going to have a conversation about either or what position is deep this year. Yeah. You've got so much more information now.
And we often talked about it, and Lindsay, we've talked about it in our business, right? And by the way, Mike Smith, like Brian Billick, was at the front end of SumerSports 3+ years ago. We brought him and a group of people in, very important people, who were ideating on how we set up this company. And here we are 3 years later plus. We have over 75 people. We have outrageously smart people, as you know, outrageously good football people involved. You were such an important part of that. Where data is now and what you used to use back in the day, do you have a feeling about that? Are you excited about where the league is going that way? Do you think it's good for the young coaches?
Oh, I think absolutely it is, Thomas. From working off of a spreadsheet and using you're using Excel and Excel only and trying to manipulate it. It's light years ahead, and it's changed the game. It's changed the way that we call the game as a coach. It changes the way that we acquire, especially in the NFL, players. There's just so many, there's just been so many ways to do it quicker and better, in my opinion.
This is an interesting. I love listening to you talk about it in this way. That it doesn't have to be an either or. It doesn't have to be an old school or nerds. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes on social media it kind of feels like they're butting heads, the two kind of concepts, and it just doesn't have to be that way. It's context for all of it. Put it in the same bucket and kind of figure out what you want to value the most.
Absolutely, and you still are going to be the decision maker, Thomas. Yes. And no matter how much information you have, it comes down to the person that's going to make that decision. He's got to make it, but he's taking in as much information as he can. We used to work and have long, in-depth conversations, but the conversations were driven by the data. Gosh. It really was. But then you can talk it through and take it another step. We can beat it up, make it feel like it's right, or we can come back and say, well, wait a minute, this isn't, did we really go down the right path? And the data leads us to it.
Well, it's always been observational data, right? Like he won this many reps, and so this is good, or he made this many catches, he dropped this many balls. You're still tracking that information, you're just doing it in a more efficient manner now. I'm curious to get your thoughts about the game management stuff and the way that it's impacted that with all the fourth down and the go for two, and I'm curious about if you sit on a couch and go, if I was a coach right now, how would I do that?
Oh, I sit on that couch.
You do.
I do. Yeah. No. Watching ball now, and and it's like, oh, I can't believe. And then I start to think about it. Oh, it's probably pretty smart. We've got the ability to give so much data to coaches, especially in those make or break plays and in parts of the game. I'm sitting there just like fans. I'm going, well, is he going to do it? Is he not? Yeah. Oh, he's doing it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it helps us as coaches. It makes our decision, and we can back it up. At least we can say, if it didn't work, well, the statistics say that they did.
The probability is.
It's so amazing. Mike Smith, he had this approach. We would never lose back-to-back games. I mean, you kicked legitimate butt on that, and that was a big thing. You always had a really good grasp of how we were going to approach the thing. Whatever that thing was, I feel like you had a really good grasp and a plan for it. Plans today are changing. It's a fast-paced league, as we were alluding to, at so many levels. How do you feel about where we're going with the hiring of coaches, young coaches, old coaches, or experienced, not old, we're all experienced. Is there a fine line there? Do you think it's a good mix in the league right now? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot politically, but you have a strong opinion about that, where the league is going with the hiring processes?
Yeah, and I think if you understand the process of the league, it doesn't matter if you're a second-year guy or a 40-year guy. If you because the league evolves. I mean, if you watch tape from 7 years ago, you'll look at that and you'll go, God, that doesn't look like the game today, right? They're better athletes. If you really dive into it, the decision making, who's going for it on fourth downs, just as an example that we were talking about earlier. How are we practicing the guys? We've got the data of, are we overworking them? What's the optimal amount of work? Are we making sure that we're giving them the right things to eat? I mean, there's so many ways that we can dive into this now that we couldn't 10 years ago, 15 years ago, T,
That's exactly.
And Thomas, you were you were ahead of your time in terms of the way that you wanted to the acquisition part of it, but it was also, you were on the forefront of, we got to make sure of what we're doing in the training room, what we're doing in the in the weight room.
Yeah,
and the meal, and what they're eating,
right. Yeah.
And you were ahead of that, and we put together a plan, and now it's everybody does it, everybody does it.
And Howie keeps winning. Howie Roseman keeps winning because he has such a firm grasp of player care, data application. I mean, there's so much going on out there. Right now, what they're trying to do, and you saw this in one of the old teams that you were with, Tony Baselli, who you have a great deal of respect with, was just hired as the president of football operations, if I'm boiling it down. That's going to be a wave, I believe, in the future where that person is over top of both the head coach and the GM. That's a little different than the president who was over top of everything, i.e. Rich McKay. So things are changing now. That's one of those things that I could dig into for a while, but I know we also want to talk about
structures, tech. I mean, we talked about the ways that some of the new data impacts coaching and decision making on the field. There's also technological advancements in terms of like gear and equipment that you have available to you, and I know that you've been really involved with that.
Yes, players' safety is the most important thing right now. For all of us, we love to talk about what we can do to improve the game. Well, we got to make sure what we can do to improve the health of our players, and also having the ability to make moms and dads, when kids are just starting to play the game, feel that their kid is going to be safe. And I've been involved with X-Tech shoulder pads, and it's amazing. I was introduced to it when I was in Atlanta just in my last year or two, and then had an opportunity once I got out of it, because I saw the ability of keep protecting the guys with the pads, and it was the foam that got me. And I fixated on the foam because it dispersed the energy, and that, it comes down to when somebody gets hurt, it's the energy at that point, and so it's able to disperse it. And X-Tech pads is the number one pad in the NFL, which is great, but there's only 1,600 and whatever, 50 players. We want to be the number one pad in high school football and youth football, because we're going to have safer players playing in the NFL down the road if we start protecting them early, and we teach them not only to wear the best product, but how to wear it. Right. And make sure that it's worn. You know how kids, when we played, I remember the first time I ever played, put a helmet on and I was looking out the ear hole.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Well, life has changed a lot, right? I mean, that's kind of the theme today, right?
Man, this is a conversation that's making me feel very old with all of the, it was so different back in our day. And by the way, I'm putting myself in this category. Yeah. Not that anyone needed that.
You look a lot better than us, Lindsay. So thank you.
Yeah, Lindsay. And yes, and 5 years ago is like 20 years ago.
So true, right? Because things are changing so dramatically, so quickly. We could talk about this with you all day long, but I know that a lot of people are pulling at you in different directions here. Yeah. So thank you so much for swinging by. This is fun watching just the two of you guys go back and forth.
So good to see.
I should step out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.